Lesson 3.1, Solving Equations Using Addition and Subtraction. Equivalent equations have the same solution. Inverse operation is an operation that undoes another operation. For example, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction, and vice versa. The inverse operation of multiplication is division, and the inverse operation of division is multiplication. The subtraction property of equality says that if I subtract the same number from each side of an equation, it produces an equivalent equation. If you look in our example, you have x plus 9 equals 12. Two sides to the problem, look for the variable. This is the side you want to clear. In order to clear this side, we need to add the opposite of positive 9. And we do this to both sides. So instead of saying the word subtracting, I'm going to say add the opposite. We no longer want to say subtraction. We want to add the opposite. What happens then is that 9 plus negative 9 equals 0, and that will cancel each other out. So you're just left with the x on the left side. And then 12 plus negative 9 is positive 3. So your answer is positive 3. You're probably wondering, why do I need to know how to do this? I can mentally figure out that 3 goes in for x, and that's added to 9 to get 12. So why go through the work of adding the opposite? Because eventually you're going to get into two-step problems. And now it's not going to be so quick to mentally decide what x is. And if that seems too easy, eventually you're going to get into problems where there's variables on both sides. Now can you figure out what the x is? Sure, you can do some guessing and checking, but what happens if I do this with distributive property and add that on? Now it's getting a little harder. So you have to learn how to do the easy steps first, so that when we go into the harder two-step problem or variables on both sides, you know how to do it. So x plus 7 equals negative 13. First of all, there's two sides to the equation. Look for the variable. This is the side that we want to clear. Remember, there's a left side and a right side. I want to clear the numbers that are next to the variable or on the same side as the variable. To do that, instead of adding positive 7, the inverse operation is adding the opposite, which is adding negative 7. So I'm going to add negative 7 to both sides of the equation. That will clear, so x is left, and negative 13 plus negative 7 is negative 20. The solution is negative 20. You can also go back and check your work. The original problem was x plus 7 equals negative 13. Plug in the negative 20 and check. Does negative 20 plus 7, does it equal, question mark, negative 13? Yes, it does. So the solution checks. This is a great way to make sure you're doing the problems correctly, is by checking your work. The addition property of equality says that you can add the same number to each side of an equation. And again, you can think about adding the opposite. First thing we have to do, though, is always change our subtraction to adding the opposite. Now what we have is x plus negative 6 equals 1. Two sides to the problem. Left side has the variable, so we need to clear the negative 6. To do that, let's add the opposite, which is positive 6, to both sides. Those 6 is clear because that's 0. You're left with x equals 7. First thing I want to do in this problem, change subtraction to adding the opposite. Now, I'm clearing this left side versus the right, because that has the variable. To do that, I want to add the opposite of negative 5.8, and that would be adding positive 5.8 to both sides. They like to set theirs up a little differently than I do, so I'm going to write my way down here so you can see it. I basically do it vertically where they solve the problem horizontally. That becomes 0. You're left with t. 16 plus 5.8 is 21.8. That's the answer. And again, go back and check. For t, plug in the 21.8, subtract or add the negative 5.8, and you should get, double check your work, and you can see that you definitely get 16. Go ahead and solve the problems. Please remember to pause the video and show your work so I know that you are actually trying to do the problems. Number 1, we add the opposite. Look for the variable which is on the left side. Add the opposite to both sides. These 4's cancel because that's 0. You're left with y equals 13 minus 4 is 9. This time the variable is on the right side, so this is what we're clearing. The whole goal is to try to get the variable by itself. So we need to clear 7. It's a positive 7, so let's add a negative 7. We add the opposite. That will become 0 on the right. You're left with t. Negative 17 plus negative 7 is negative 24. First, change subtraction to adding the opposite. Now you can see the variable's on the left side, so I need to move the negative 11. Let's add the opposite, which is positive 11. Negative 11 plus 11, they're opposites, they become 0. 14 plus 11 and equals 25. Number 4, add the opposite. This is a negative 2. The variable is on the right, so we need to move the negative 3.5. We can do that by adding a positive 3.5. Right side will cancel the numbers out. You're left with s. Negative 2 plus 3.5. Please do the work. Positive 1.5 equals s. Example 3. You are flying a kite. The total length of the kite string is 275 feet. So far you have let out 153 feet of string. How much string do you have left? Let S represent the length of string left. Because remember, that's what the question's asking, so that's what you don't know. That's your variable. The verbal model is putting words in for where we're eventually going to put in numbers. We're going to find the total length of string, which we know. And you know the total would equal the string that was left versus the string that's already let out. We know the total is 275 feet. The length of string left, you don't know. And we know that you let out 153. The variables on the right side, we want to move 153 by adding the opposite. They say subtraction. I say add the opposite to both sides. So we're adding a negative. Again, it was positive, so I'm adding a negative to both sides. That would mean that the right side will cancel out. You're left with just s. 275 plus negative, which means you're subtracting, would equal 122. So you have 122 feet of string left.